Friends, and welcome, dear humans, as we begin this first gathering of 2026. I'm still having trouble saying 2026. Is anyone else? The last group I asked, no one was making mistakes with that. I'm maybe the only one, but we do wish you a happy new year and a new year with fewer emails and more sleep. But
Mm.
that's from Jason. And we want to welcome you to our 257th online gathering for faith leaders across the country with a focus on creating beloved community. This regular gathering is sponsored by ELCA's coaching ministry. I am Jill Beverlin. I use the pronouns she, her, and I'm honored to be giving part of the introduction today, but I've switched it up on Jason already.
You did. That's okay. We pivot. We do this well. And I'm Jason O'Neill, your other introducer today. Is that a word? In attunement with the truth and healing movement of the ELCA and moving toward right relationship with our Indigenous siblings and neighbors, let us begin with a land acknowledgement. We are gathered together from all parts of Turtle Island, also referred to as North America. We are connected by the breath given us by the breath maker and by the very piece of Mother Earth, the land that each of us inhabits today. We understand that all land is Indigenous land, and we invite each of you to name in the chat the Indigenous peoples or tribal nations whose lands you occupy now. We acknowledge the terror of colonialism, genocide, ethnic cleansing, broken treaties, stolen land, forced removal, and boarding schools, as well as the thousands of missing and murdered Indigenous women and children each year, and the ripple effects of violence still being experienced today. We know that Indigenous peoples are not historical subjects, but are part of our communities, and they offer invaluable wisdom for how we exist in relationship with Mother Earth, as well as our human and more than human neighbors.
It is also important for us to offer a labor acknowledgement, and with permission granted by Dr. Tara T.J. Stewart, we acknowledge that much of what we know of this country today, including its culture, economic growth, and development, has been made possible by the labor of enslaved Africans and their ascendants who suffered the horror of transatlantic trafficking, slavery, and Jim Crow laws. We are indebted to their labor and their sacrifice, and we acknowledge the tremors of that violence throughout the generations and the resulting impact that can still be felt and witnessed today. Another part of creating beloved community is fostering a sense of belonging. So we invite each of you to update your name in Zoom to include your pronouns. This is just one more way we can express welcome for all of God's children. And at any point during these gatherings, you may access the captions option in the Zoom menu on your device. It might also show as an icon with the letters CC in a box. You may need to click on three little dots or swipe to a different screen within Zoom to access this option. So let us continue our work toward healing and justice by entering into a place of peace and listening together. Through these regular gatherings, we have developed a covenant of how we enter and interact in this space. We are committed to creating a safer and braver space where each of us are able to bring the truth of who we are and how we are doing. If you share something today that you wish for us to edit out of the recording, just let us know afterwards. And with all of this said, we affirm that these conversations are meant to be an intentional step to live more fully into God's dream for us as the body of Christ, the beloved community.
And as Bell Hooks wrote in All About Love, rarely, if ever, are any of us healed in isolation. Healing is an act of communion. So to let you know, our facilitators today will not be me and Jill, but it will be Reverend Brenda Smith, Deacon Tammy Devine, and Reverend Candy Holmes. But first, or next, let us continue with an opening song.
Longing for light, we wait in darkness. Longing for truth, we turn to you. us your own, your holy people, light for the world to see. Christ be our light, shine in our hearts, shine through the darkness. Christ be our light, shine in your church, gather today. Longing for peace, our world is troubled. Longing for hope, many despair. Your word alone has power to save us. Make us your living voice. Christ be our light, shine in our hearts, shine through the darkness. Christ be our light, shine in your church, gather today. Longing for food, many are hungry. Longing for water, many still thirst. Make us your bread, broken for others, shed unto all are fed. Christ be our light, shine in our hearts, shine through the darkness. Christ be our light, shine in your church, gather today. Christ be our light, shine in our hearts, shine through the darkness. Christ be our light, shine in your church, gather today.
As we begin, I'd like to make sure that we recognize that as the ELCA, we have had some really bold voices, pastors sharing their voices and modeling what beloved community is. And that invitation, of course, is for all of us to be those bold voices in our communities. So let's listen.
We are Lutheran pastors, and at the heart of our Christian tradition is the conviction that no one is garbage.
Every neighbor is beloved.
Every neighbor is beloved.
Every neighbor is beloved.
Yet we live in a moment when fear increasingly shapes public life.
Fear narrows our imaginations, making cruel immigration policies seem inevitable.
But the truth is, it doesn't have to be this way.
When we look around our neighborhoods, we see warmth, hospitality, and the fragile miracle of people learning to live together in peace.
We want to protect that miracle.
This past week, we witnessed racist, xenophobic attacks on our Somali neighbors, paired with targeted federal enforcement here in Minnesota.
When leaders dehumanize people, real families and real communities suffer harm.
As Lutheran pastors, we made promises to resist the forces that defy God.
This is not about partisanship. It's about defending human dignity as our faith demands.
In our faith tradition, we are in the season of Advent, a season in the church year in which we're called to beat swords into plowshares and to look to the Christ child, vulnerable, brown refugee, as our teacher.
Christ shows us that God dwells with those pushed to the margins, shaping how we show up for Somali neighbors and all immigrants today.
This is not about us and them, because we belong to one another in a shared life that fear cannot undo.
We are strengthened by our diversity of creed, language, ethnicity, and experiences.
Our diversity brings a richness that is a gift, not a threat.
We stand unequivocally with immigrants and refugees, especially those now targeted by hateful rhetoric or or unjust enforcement, because love requires it.
Our baptismal promises require it.
Even now, God is already at work among us, calling us toward courage, compassion, and connection.
God gives us an imagination to envision a world where, as the angels declared, we need not fear our neighbors.
And God gives us boldness to proclaim from the mountaintop, every human being is God's beloved.
So as we await Christmas, we proclaim again, no one is garbage. All are beloved, and with our many small feathers of courage, we will say no. Enough, and not in our communities, as we protect what God declares holy.
I will be reading two scriptures that we see as foundational as we talk about beloved community. The first is taken from Micah chapter 6, verse 8. God has told you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you but to do justice and to love kindness and to walk humbly with your God? The second is taken from Matthew 5, verse 9, 14a, and 16. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. You are the light of the world. Let your light so shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to God in heaven.
I will be reading the vision of beloved community according to Josiah Royce, a philosophy professor at Harvard. In 1913, Royce wrote, "My life means nothing, either theoretically or practically, unless I am a member of a community." He observed that besides the actual communities we experience in our daily lives, there was also an ideal beloved community made up of all those who were dedicated to the cause of loyalty and truth. Royce did not see the community as a static object, but as an all-embracing, radical idea of unity for the whole human race. And now the vision of beloved community according to Martin Luther King Jr. But the end is reconciliation. The end is redemption. The end is the creation of a beloved community. It is this type of spirit and this type of love that can transform opposers into friends. It is this kind of understanding and goodwill that will transform the deep gloom of the old age into the exuberant gladness of the new age. It is this love which will bring about miracles.
And the vision of beloved community according to the Boundless Love Project. To beloved community members, all life forms are viewed as intrinsically worthy, valuable, and important. It is this way our spirit of friendship and goodwill extends boundlessly to include everyone and everything. Nothing is excluded. The result means that in addition to a human society free of violence and exploitation, we live in a world where the land, air, and water is clean, healthy, and life-supporting, and where wildlife and domesticated animals have the conditions required by their nature to thrive as a species and as individuals. So we have been on a journey of exploring what beloved community has been. We started this journey back in September of 2024, and these are some of the themes in which we explored in our first Wednesdays of each month. I'd like to read these to you, and I'd like you to notice as you hear the word how your body responds, what you notice within yourself as these words wash over you. Lament. Truth-telling. Wholeness. Indigenous wisdom. Accessibility. Healing. Holding space. Listening. Love. Faith. Suffering. Strength. Action. Intersectionality. Diversity. Equity. Inclusion. Alchemy. Joy. Boom. Justice. Light. bravery, and real, an acronym for respect, empathy, accountability, and love. Is there a word that shimmered for you as you heard that list read?
Can you show it again?
Balm. Thanks, Jen.
Alchemy.
Thanks.
Accountability.
Indigenous wisdom. Holding space.
Holding space. Mhm. And in the chat, Rosita says real.
Suffering.
Suffering.
Truth telling.
I noticed when I read strength, my backbone. I felt something run up my backbone. So.
Tammy, I wrote down every word as you read it, and then next to it wrote the first thing that came to my head as I heard it. And that was a fun exercise. And I can say that when it got to real, I immediately wrote down the beloved community participants and facilitators. You all have embodied each of these things for me over the past year.
Thank you.
Not that we don't have doubt, and maybe it's just assumed, but the word education. People need to be educated on what beloved community is.
This is a pretty good list. As it was fun to see the diversity of topics that we have covered in the process of educating and working through and defining beloved community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and hopefully we're practicing and living it out. Right, Jason?
Right.
This word does not appear there, but I think it's a thread through all the words that are there. That inspiration, to embody these attributes and the building of beloved community one is inspired to move through these kinds of spaces, the simplicity of them and the complexities of them. So inspiration to step into those attributes and make them real.
I just
Song is, oh, go ahead.
I just want to add that I wrote real because when you broke it down for me, it really spoke to my heart in a sense that we have to start in a place of respect and empathy and accountability and love so that we can do this kind of creating beloved community. So that's what came to mind when I didn't explain why I just wanted to say that for me that would be a beginning place, a place to beginning to respect one another's where we are or who we are, and then being able to to show empathy for each other in wherever we are, because as humans we need to have empathy to be able to get to loving one another, you know, and have accountability, take responsibility for the things that we say and do that hurt others. So that's why that word meant so much to me.
Thank you.
I wanted to say about what Brenda said about education. Before I started coming to these broad programs, I, of course, am sensitive about what's going on in my world and how our community is so broken. But it's only through listening to all of you and coming up with this list, talking about these issues, these aspects of the beloved community, did I gain any kind of understanding about what needs to be done to create beloved community. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, both on a personal and a community level. And so all the words are important. But it's only through like purposely educating oneself to what this means and how daunting a task it is, and how the strength we get comes from our community itself. It doesn't come from being an individual, it's a community strength. And I've learned that over this past year or more that I've been coming, that it's very important to learn, be kind of re-educated about what's broken in our community and how we can begin to come back together if we were ever together before.
Thank you, Brenda. And to echo that we need each other.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about song because we usually had a song each time.
Each time.
And, they say music is the universal language. And I know for me, music is very important for me in dealing with some things, like if I'm upset about something, music, playing a Temptation song make me feel better. So, as we struggle, we look for ways to deal with our struggles, and music is that for me.
I was just surprised because our opening song today was the Advent hymn I chose for my church, for my congregation. Every time we lit the candles, we sang that song, Christ be our light. And I was just so, it affirms me when, I feel that others are thinking in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, ever since I heard this joy that I have, I sing it all the time, especially when I'm upset with somebody.
I have been thinking about that word embodied, and Candy used that word. And I was wondering if I could just ask for the wisdom of the group, like how we embody some of these things, or what that means when we think of like in our bodies. If anyone has any thoughts.
Embodied to me seems like it's ingrained throughout our whole being when we're embodied something.
The word embody for me means taking ownership, making it my own, so that it becomes natural, so that it becomes part of who I am. So for me, creating beloved community, if I embodied that, then I am embodying it and making it part of who I am, so that when I see what I do, what I speak reflects that.
For me, embody is about conscious awareness, my own conscious awareness, bringing my consciousness and raising my awareness toward a particular attribute, so that I'm aware of how I am living it out.
Yep. Yeah.
And how it lives inside of my, not just my consciousness, but also in my body, in my flesh, in my in the ways in which I speak, in the ways in which I use my hands to help others, to help myself. So it's about consciousness, and it's about awareness, and 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 it's about being authentic with it. Because in my body, if when I embody something, it's the body accepts authenticity in a way that is enlivening. It enlivens the body when we are authentic. And so when these attributes are a part of us, when we invite them in and we live into them, our bodies are enlivened, our consciousness, our hearts are enlivened, and we are congruent with spirit.
You keep with everything you've all said. What's the old saying? Walk the talk or talk. You know which phrase I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can't get it right, but that's what it made me think of a lot too. That we talk a lot of things. We have to walk the talk or talk the walk. Those kind of things. Whatever that phrase is.
Or practice what we preach.
Yeah.
Friends, this conversation inspires me to print out this slide and have these words in front of me as I do my morning devotions, just to keep and maybe I'll like rotate through and just like on one day really focus on lament and let that be part of how I start my day. And just move through these. I think that there are 24 words here. Just do that day by day throughout the year. And as a way of incorporating all the things that you said, let it become part of the fiber of my being and impact not just how who I am and how I am, but how I'm connecting with others and leaving an imprint on the world.
And maybe we could lift these up periodically and ask how you've been changed in one or two of these areas, and so, as a result of participating in this ministry.
how does alchemy fit on here? I mean, what is the thought about am I even saying it right? Alchemy. I'm just curious.
I think that particular session was about wisdom.
Ah, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Any other ideas, folks? I don't have to be the end all for that, but that's what came to my mind.
Wisdom and change.
The stirring up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and alchemy for me, that it's a blending and it's a chemistry of spirit with spirit, our spirit, the divine spirit, the way in which we are connected to one another. It's alchemizing. We help change the world. That's alchemizing. We help change ourselves. That's alchemizing. We help change one another. That's alchemizing. So it's alchemizing. It's like a process to go from one depth to another depth, from one way of being into a deeper way of being, and it's energizing. Um, but it takes multiple components. So, like in beloved community, we are that for one another. We are alchemizing agents with one another and for one another.
And Shirley, I also put the link to that recording for that week if that's helpful.
Are we ready to move into questions? Or are there more thoughts? I don't want to shut down the conversation. This has been very rich.
Have we trained everyone to be on the edge of their seats for questions in the coaching space?
Our questions today, we have two, and we like to engage one another around these two questions. And the first one being, how has the beloved community been missing from your life? How has the beloved community been missing from your life?
I'd like to go. I am in a situation, I've been in my ministry for 20 years. February will be my 20th anniversary of ordination and call to this congregation. And for a while, and when I first started, I was so excited. I was so eager to share with my colleagues. I thought we would be translating Greek and Hebrew and engaging in uh, uh, Bible studies and planning our sermons and sharing information. And I soon realized that that wasn't happening. And it seemed like any kind of uh, gathering that we engaged in, it was about complaining and talking about, how frustrated we were and all the problems that we were having. And it got to the point that conversations just stopped because everybody kind of realized, whether they acknowledged it or not, that we were going nowhere and that this was not helpful. And we may as well just stick to our own territories and engage in our own issues, and it became very lonely and isolating. It was the opposite of community. It was like living on an island and being in a boat by yourself with one oar. So this was the situation for years, and only occasionally were there breakthroughs. And breakthroughs usually occurred when some major tragedy or problem occurred, and people were compelled to come together and talk. So when I started listening to these sessions and participating, I realized that there are alternatives to isolation, that creating beloved community is an answer to the problem of feeling like we're, individuals struggling by ourselves to not just do ministry, but to just exist. And one of the things I realize is that we often look for companionship or community among people who are not willing to engage in that, and we bypass others that we don't think are able to engage in that or are willing. So since I've started here, I've created community with the strangest people. I mean, it's like it's amazing uh, the people I engage with and talk to. And one of the things, from this list that we were just talking about is intersectionality and holding space. There's space for others in this community that I'm engaged in. And I don't know who's going to take up that space, but we're just keeping it there when they step on board, kind of. And it's not what I expected. It's a complete surprise. But it's helping me expand my horizons and feel better in a situation where I feel threatened most of the time. And it's helping us get things done for justice and equity and in a situation where all this is being denied everyone without intentionally looking for and creating community. I wouldn't be where I am right now. I would still be like kind of sad and broken down. Especially this happened during a time when I was engaging in major illness. So it's been very, very helpful. It's been like a life raft.
Thank you for sharing, Brenda.
I like that so much, Brenda, because I have had a similar, well, I mean, I've had experience many times in life where I think this is going to be the group where, where either I'm going to kind of fit in or it's going to, I have a preconceived notion. I think this is going to work out. It kind of feels like running into this wall and running into this closed door, this wall, and then sometimes the most surprising people are the ones who you needed.
This is Candy, and for me, not being associated with a church home, my church home is not where I live, and going through religious transition from a sort of a Christian perspective, going to more of a universalist perspective, and that I guess it kind of shifted my thinking around beloved community and what that could be and what I would need it to be, what want it to be. But I think it started with acknowledging that I did not have it or that I was mislabeling it as meaning church only. And so then therefore it was missing because I was not in a church, um, living where I am now. And so I was often, or for a very long time, until I started with these sessions, um, feeling very much like I was not a part of beloved community, and so that just kind of it helped me to understand that I was working from a dated or older model of what I had in my life before. That is church, with air quotes, and um, and then therefore that was missing. But beloved community is much more than that, extensively much more than that. Anyone else? Did anything else come up for you around how has the beloved community been missing from your life?
I think I've mentioned it over the year a few times, moving to a completely different part of the country than I've ever lived in before, and being retired now, where I worked at the churchwide office for many years and had a ready-made community, that we stayed in contact even during COVID. We made a point of doing that, all those kind of things. Also, be a little frank, coming to a synod where I asked to go to the first gathering of the rostered leaders, and they said, "No, you're retired. We don't invite the retired folks here. They have their own." And I said, "Well, I'd like to go," and I did go for a day, but that was right towards the beginning, and it was like, oh, okay. So finding that, but then of course I've talked about the difference in political, because coming from, I've lived in New York, I've lived in Chicago, and then I grew up in Detroit, and now in Arizona. Although I keep saying we have two really good senators. Keep supporting Mark Kelly. Sorry, but I have to stick that in. So that's been a challenge too. And then, to make the effort to find, like you've all been describing, to find community. There is a group. I told you I did find a congregation that's really open, and a very rare thing out here. And so just to have to really work at it. And I think, Brenda, you were talking a little bit about that too. So it's a new day, a new age. And at first I was always saying, what the heck did I do coming out here? And now, like I was part of, when the No Kings, the biggest one out here that they've ever had, our protest and things like that. I thought, well, I guess that's why I'm here, so that I can also be part of that and a stimulus. But that takes energy, and that's where being part of this group is that piece that reminds me when I get done, and I think, okay, what are you going to go do, Shirlene? That kind of thing, and pushes me, and I mean in a good way, pushes me to work at. And to also, like Richard Rohr in his devotion yesterday for Epiphany, he used Barbara Brown Taylor,
Bass.
Barbara Butler Bass. There is a Taylor too. Used her talking about keep looking, keep your eyes open for the epiphanies because you're missing some. So that was helpful too.
I I'd like to say that I can relate to Charlene's situation coming from the Northeast Connecticut, moving to South Carolina, where everything's very different politically and so forth. And so the question says, how has the beloved community been missing from your life? Well, it's missing because I don't have the same support system I had in Connecticut. All my friends that I was used to are over there. you know, my my good friends where I could have honest conversations with live there. And so I've had to find ways to be intentional to connect so that I can begin to make those connections here. I also go to a church that is, not very diverse. It's diverse to a certain extent, but not very diverse. Um, and so, and because there's one political party here that dominates, so therefore you can't have honest conversations about what's happening around us. And so many times I feel isolated and alone. But this group helps me. So I've been missing this group because I get a lot of strength, inspiration, um, and I feel seen in this group. So that keeps me sane and balanced to know that a group like this exists and that I can come and I could share as well as receive uh, good information to keep me stable and balanced. So thank you, ladies and men who are on this call. I appreciate each one of you and what you have to offer. So thank you.
When you said about talking to different groups, how do we start our own group? Well, we're reading, I don't know if you've seen this, it's Loving Your Christian Nationalist Neighbor, Disarming Leviathan.
No, I haven't seen that one.
And so we've got a small group from the church that's looking at it. And he talks about, I'm only partway through, but he talks about viewing folks that, excuse me, we think we may not have a conversation with as the mission field. And how do you then go to a mission field? You find out about them, you connect with them, all those kind of things. It's been interesting.
Yeah. That's good. Thank you.
Are we ready for the next question?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure if we have time for the next question. We have 4 minutes left.
Oh, okay then. Well then, thank you for your responses. But let's at least leave the question with them, Jason. How about that? If you could maybe put in the chat or email Jason and Jill, how have the past 12 plus months encouraged you to live in beloved community? We would love your feedback. And so since we're out of time, that would really, really be helpful if you could let us know that. How have the past 12 plus months encouraged you to live in beloved community? Thank you.
And I'm going to leave with a question too. How will this continue? Will it continue? Will there be something?
And that's what we're going to share with you just a moment.
Yes, that's what we're going to talk about next.
Yeah, are you ready for that, Jason? Okay, so Charlene, it's just like I paid you to say that, right? Because indeed, we are pivoting to something new in 2026. We do strive to listen to Spirit and what Spirit is inviting us to do next. So, friends, as we pivot into 2026 with this concept of creating and living into beloved community, I have time just to give you a little teaser. So here are some important things to remember. We will not be meeting weekly on the Wednesday. We're going to primarily be meeting on the first Wednesday of every month, right? The same time frame. It may be a little bit shorter. So, and Jason will be sending you an email. The email will have our new name. One of the things that we are experimenting with is using language that feels accessible for everyone. And so when you see the phrase wayfinding in the Commons, we'll have a whole explanation about it. That's what we've been doing here. It's just packaged in a little bit different language. And so you'll have fun unpacking that together. So I think that that's my part and what I'm supposed to say, right? Ready for the next person.
Awesome. Thank you, Jill. I put a note, if you're not receiving our monthly emails and want to, we just send one email a month about our gatherings and things that we're doing around Beloved Community and wayfinding and whatever the next iteration is going to be, because that's how this works. If you'll just email info@elcacoaching.org with your request, I just need that in writing just to make sure we're staying within spam laws. That would be helpful. And we don't have time to go through all the things. There are a number of events we're still doing in January, and those are all on our events page. So I'll put that in the link in the chat as well. I encourage you, there's several like racial justice cohorts that are starting. There's a wellness cohort that's starting. I mean, all kinds of things that ELCA Coaching is experimenting with this year. So would love to have y'all join us in some of those other things too. And if you can hang on for 3.5 minutes, if you want to, we have a sending song for you, and I will get that pulled up right now.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Jesus gave it to me. I'm gonna let it shine. Jesus gave it to me. I'm gonna let it shine. Jesus gave it to me. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. shining bright. Jesus shines his light on me. Let it shine. Like the moon in the night, like the sun shining bright. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Like the moon in the night, like the sun shining bright. Jesus shines the light on me. Let it shine. Like the sun shining bright. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Beautiful. Wow.
Amazing. Friends, thank you for staying
Loved
on
it.
to enjoy that. As we leave this space, I want to say a special thank you again for our faithful facilitators, Brenda, Candy, and Tammy of this first Wednesday of the month. It's been absolutely fruit-filled, love-filled, joy-filled, all the things. And I also want to say a special thank you to each of you. You indeed reflect beloved community. So, friends, as you leave this space, please remember, as always, that you are seen, you are valued, and you are loved. And we will see you February 4th, the first Wednesday in February. Okay? God's blessings, friends. Happy Epiphany.
Yes, thank you very much. God bless you all.
Bye.
God bless
Yeah.
you.
Bye.